everybody for being here. On this auspicious day, commemorating the appearance of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj. If Maharaj would like to make some comments on the matter, that would be welcome. If not, then we'll continue. We'll try to glorify His Divine Grace, the spiritual master of our beloved A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shri Guru Nitai Ki Jai. So, unfortunately, I was a little preoccupied in the morning. I don't know what was spoken in the morning, if anything was spoken, so if anything was repeated, but as Prabhu mentioned, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is often called as the Simha Guru, which means Lion Guru. It's very fierce and destroying any opposition that was anything that's contrasting to the Siddhanta, the Vedanta, the perfect conclusion of what the scriptures are pointing to. Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service. So, this is significant because we often call him the Simha Guru, which he's always pretty heavy, pretty sharp, pretty fierce, but this manifested more especially later in his life when he took sannyas and he started preaching all across India. But his father originally started this mission, so we know there's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he was preaching very strong, as much as he could in the whole Bengal area, especially in Calcutta. Jagannath Puri, Calcutta, but he was in Jagannath Puri when Bhaktisiddhanta appeared. And he is starting so many different preaching centers, and it is very difficult because actually the whole Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition has been was largely spoiled up to that point. Many different people were practicing in many different ways, kind of interpreting it in their own way, and doing all sorts of different things. And there's many different sects or asampradayas. Asampradaya is something that's what people are following, that's not in line with the sampradaya. So, Bhakta Eden and I, at least last week, we were reading about Madhya Acharya on his appearance day, so we were hearing about some of the different sampradayas, four bona fide Vaishnava sampradayas coming down through the scriptures from Lord Krishna himself. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur started preaching against these asampradayas, people who were taking this Gaudiya Vaishnavaism and distorting it. And many people thought it was really a hoax, or people were sentimental, and it wasn't in line with Shastra or you name it. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was actually praying for someone to appear to help him. It's called a ray of Vishnu. I don't know if that's what he was praying for, or that's what appeared, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was this ray of Vishnu, this help that was sent by Lord Krishna. And all of our Vaishnava acharyas are great in their own way. Some really exemplify renunciation or knowledge. They all definitely exemplify devotion to the Supreme Lord, but they have different characteristics and different pastimes, obviously. But at least for me, in my eyes, the more you hear about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it's very easy to understand he's not ordinary, it's extraordinary, which I guess we're very fortunate to have a lot of information about Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because they are the most recent acharyas. But the more you hear about any acharya, the more you realize that they're not ordinary. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, even from a young age, his mother, they were living in Puri, and they lived right on the road where they took the Jagannath down on the parade. And sometimes the cart stops, and it just won't move. They try to pull it and budge it, and it won't move at all. And this is shown in Gora Lila, also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jagannath Ram stops, his cart stops, and it won't move, and they're trying to get elephants to move it, and all the strong people and everything. And Lord Chaitanya finds out about it, and he goes to the back of the cart, and he puts his head on it and starts pushing, and then it starts moving. So Jagannath has a mind of his own, but he stopped in front of his house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife, Bhagavati Devi, she grabbed her son, young son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and at that time his name was Bimala Prasad. And she took him to go take darshan of Lord Jagannath, and as she took him up to see Jagannath and get the blessings, get the mercy, one of the garlands that was on Jagannath fell off and it fell onto young Bimala Prasad. And everybody there remarked, oh, this must be a great personality, and Lord Jagannath's giving him the blessings like this. It's also said that astrologer was doing his charts, checking him over when he was appearing, and he had all the different qualities signifying a Mahabhagavat, a very great personality. His chart showed it, his bodily symptoms showed it. So basically from a very young age he showed remarkable qualities, remarkable traits, and that carried on as he got older and only progressed. From a very young age he took up, you see, I want to say he took up scholarly pursuits in like a world-minded sense, but he was very erudite in his scholarship. He could study immensely. It said that by the time he was 7 years old, he remembered the whole Bhagavad Gita, and he could not just remember it, because one time I remember hearing Srila Prabhupada, he went to go visit the Gurukul, which was in Dallas, and they were doing a presentation for him, and they had the students recite the whole chapter, one chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And then Prabhupada afterwards asked one of the kids if he knew what the sloka meant. And he looked at him with like a blank face and he didn't know. Someone could remember things, but to actually remember and understand, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he had that grasp, he remembered, but he also was very knowledgeable in the purport, meaning. So, he continued, exemplifying his high character and his high knowledge. We were earlier just recently, I think it was before he was 11 years old, he must have been like 10 years old, he got into a debate with some scholar, some guy who was very pumped up in his learning, his knowledge, and he defeated him so bad that he made the guy that stool. He was so disturbed. So, I was just thinking about this where actually I have a god brother, and one time in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat also describes how there was a traveling scholar traveling all across India, and he was challenging people, trying to defeat them. So this was pretty common in India because they valued this knowledge and intellectualism. And this Digvijay, which is his name, Digvijay means one who conquers in every direction. He's traveling all over trying to conquer and show his great knowledge. And Lord Chaitanya defeated him. And anyways, my god-brother, he was giving a presentation on this, and he kind of showcased it in a way of like the first rap battle there was. So the only reason I bring this up is a lot of us grew up listening to rap. There's a battle, some guy wins and he like defames the other guy, and the guy's so embarrassed he can't talk. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur just showed his knowledge, his prowess so much from a young age that this guy was just defeated, humiliated, and just done. So I just thought it was an interesting parallel that we grew up. The same exact rasa is there, but one is over something of higher values and one's of something that's like super low character. So we can see how Kali Yuga has progressed. But anyways, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had this great prowess and knowledge and understanding, but I was reading, he was saying that when he started going to school and studying more and more, he didn't want anything to do with studying what the teachers were giving him. He just wanted to study the works of Narottam Das Thakur, his books that were from his father, the six Goswamis. So, asking the questions of the things he was supposed to be studying, and he was still able to answer everything quite nicely, and he passed very well. So, it's not that he was just ignorant, he was just uninterested in material affairs. And repeatedly throughout his life, he had so many opportunities to excel in different positions, such as studying grammar, astronomy, astrology rather, in many different positions, but he was afraid of getting entangled. This is an acharya, he's always showing the position, so yeah, it's very nice because here's somebody who's filled with so much character, so much purity. He's a brahmachari his whole life, had picture-perfect memory. He'd read something and remember it at once. I don't know about you all, but often I read a paragraph and I have to go back and start from the beginning and do that quite a few times. What to speak of, remembering the whole book. So his memory was very sharp, but he would often put himself in a position where he wouldn't be entangled in that attraction for name and fame. So, later, something interesting was that his father, when he was building, I forget what it was, he was building something in Calcutta, and they were unearthing the ground to build this foundation of what they were building. They found a deity of Korma, or tortoise, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave it to his son and told him to worship it. So from that day he started worshipping it very strictly, and then soon after that he gave him mantra, he gave him tulsi. Basically, he initiated him without formally initiating him, so that he always carried on these practices. And then we all know that, well, hopefully we all know, his Diksha Guru was Srila Gaura Das Babaji, and it said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he built a place in Godruma, which is an island in Godruma Dweep, in Navadweep. So they built a house there to reside in Navadweep, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was working on discovering the factual place where Lord Chaitanya appeared, which is called Yogapith. So there was much debate over where this was, and many people said it was on the other side of the Ganga or at the Jalangi. There was different arguing of where it actually was, because people were trying to capitalize. So many pilgrims coming there to their property, they build something and they collect the money. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur did meticulous research and discovered the true place, and this was verified by taking Jagannath Das Babaji there, who at the time was well over 100 years old, could hardly walk. He's carried in a basket everywhere by his servant. But even though he was materially crippled in such a way, as soon as he would get absorbed in chanting the holy name or absorbed in thoughts of Lord Chaitanya, then he'd be able to jump, not just jump a little bit, but jump high, jump and dance and chant and ecstasy. So they took him to this place that they thought was Yogapith, the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, and through his transcendental vision, he confirmed that this was the place, this was the proper place. It's a whole other story, but anyways, the reason why I mentioned this was, they said that after this, Gaura Kishore Das Babaji, he would often travel from Vrindavan and Navadvip, and he heard of this and he wanted to come see. So then you have Bhaktivinoda Thakur living with his family, living there in Navadvip, and then Gaura Kishore Das Babaji comes, and this is where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati meets his eventual Guru Maharaj. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur always acted as the Shiksha Guru for him, instructing him, teaching him naturally as his father, what to speak of a Vaishnava father. So he basically pointed him in that direction as well. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur approached him for initiation and got rejected. Gaurkishor's Babaji, he said, I'll ask Mahaprabhu whether I should give you Diksha or not. So, I can't speak for everybody, but if I approach the Guru and they tell me that, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty, it's divine. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati comes back, and then he says, so what did he say? And then Gaurkishor's Babaji says, well, I forgot to ask. So, Gaurkishor's Babaji, he was reluctant to give initiation, which is very similar to here, Lokanath Goswami, Guru Narottam Das Thakur. He took a vow to never take any disciples. And Narottam Das Thakur approached him and was also rejected, but through his steadfast determination, he won over the heart of Lokanath Goswami, and Lokanath Goswami felt obliged to give such a sincere, devotee shelter. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he asked again. Gaurkishor's Babaji kind of was playing in this, I can't see who's playing, but he didn't give him initiation. He told him he'd ask Mahaprabhu again, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came back. Gaurkishor's Babaji said, no, I didn't get the word, the authority. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he really expressed his heart where he was that he was eager for this initiation. He was eager for shelter, eager to serve the Guru Parampara and really take shelter of Lord Krishna's process, which is approaching a bona fide Guru within his Parampara, the Sampradaya. And up to the point where he was willing to take his own life, especially what he professed. So, stark contrast to nowadays, where often we have initiating gurus within ISKCON. They're traveling around the world and they're trying like anything to pick people up and try to encourage them to get initiated and take the next step. Whereas in India, traditionally, there's a Mahabhagavat, somebody who's well qualified. And most people might not even have the vision to recognize them, but the disciple has to really seek them out and be sincere in such a way. So, if somebody's not giving out this initiation cheaply, then only very, very sincere disciples will be there. And what's the question of a disciple without discipline? Actually, just a little sidetrack, but about Gaurkishor's Babaji once, there was a great wealthy man, I forget if he was a king or whatever, he was very, he admired Gaurkishor's Babaji and respected him, and he approached him and he said, why are you living out here in this way? So austere, so renounced. Come here, we'll build you a bhajan kutir. You can live here, we'll take care of you nicely, you can do all your bhajan there. And Gaurkishor's Babaji essentially replied, he said, yes, I could go live with you there. That sounds nice, but then if I accept that, then the next day I'll be your competitor. Because you have this and I have that, and then we're always competing, and then life gets difficult, it's too much. Why don't you just give all that up, and you actually just come stay here, and we just chant the holy names constantly. And this guy went running away. So, it's just a little tiny window into Gaurkishor's Babaji's humility and his level of surrender just to doing his bhajan and chanting the holy name, this nirjan bhajan, nothing connected with the material world, just completely absorbed in service to Krishna, thoughts of Krishna alone. So Bhaktisiddhanta was so sincere in Gaurkishor's Babaji, he told him, okay, you go take a bath in the river. He came back and then he gave him initiation. So in this way he was initiated formally into the Parampara. And he continued helping with his father's mission, his books, preaching. We are reading, they were staying in Jagannath Puri, and in Jagannath Puri there was some other Babaji that was living there, and he was teaching some things that were not so bona fide. He was teaching a mantra that was not bona fide mantra, and he was propagating ideas that the Mahamantra should not be chanted loudly, not for everybody to hear. And doing some other things, I don't even want to mention them because it's not so great, but it was not bona fide thing. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was preaching heavily against these things, and it kind of created a little bit of an uproar in Jagannath Puri because this other guy was very popular, people really liked him. And yeah, there's like a little havoc ensued, and this is when Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommended that he go to Yoga Pit and just chant the holy names, just chant, 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 chant. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took a vow to chant 1 billion names. And I'm no mathematician, but as far as I know, this, he calculated, would take him about 9 years, and at that rate of doing 1 billion names through 9 years, that is about 192 rounds a day, which is the same as Haridas Thakur, which is 300,000 names a day. So, I don't know if anybody here has ever chanted even 64 rounds. If you do that, it's almost like you have no time to sleep. When you're eating, you think, okay, I just gotta have like a quick snack, or I just gotta eat real quick and keep going. I gotta, there's no time to do services. I have to have a day free from like excess service, so I can actually do this. So he's not just chanting 64 rounds, he's chanting 192 rounds. And in Mayapur, in the rainy season, when it rains, it really rains. And sometimes the Ganga will flood, actually. You can see pictures in the past, the Ganga has flooded, and the water floods all the way up to the temple, ISKCON temple, and like the water goes to like, the altar's kind of high, but the water was definitely higher than like the altar we have here, like the red painted part. And you can see devotees in the temple room like standing in water. Some devotees are like on a boat during the arati. Yeah, it doesn't flood like that every year, but sometimes it does. The point is, it really rains. And he's living in this little grass thatched hut. And sometimes it rained so hard, and then the roof had a hole in it. So a lot of times we have problems here with the building and things we have to fix because things are old, and it's nice in service for Krishna, because the temple is not different from Krishna, it's all connected to Krishna. But at the same time, it's the difference between sitting in the kirtan, just chanting to Krishna, versus dealing with all such things. So Bhaktisiddhanta, he made this vow, and when it would rain in such a way, instead of trying to fix the hut, he would just pull out an umbrella and keep chanting. So I like to think of that when we face difficulties in the sojourn of our devotional service, because if we try to fix every little material problem we face, very easily one little thing can get us carried away, to take us away from our devotional service before we even know it. Which is a story in this connection. I'll say really quickly, because much time we have, but I also will butcher it a little bit, but there was a guy one time and he had a problem, and what was the problem? He had a mouse there bothering him. He was trying to do his bhajan, and he was trying to really focus, and there's a mouse kept coming by and squirming and making some noises, so he thought, okay, let me get a cat. The cat will keep the mouse away. So then he got a cat. Well, now the cat's meowing all the time, and that's annoying him even worse. So he's like, okay, I need to get the cat some milk. Okay, let me get a cow. So then he gets a cow, so he has some milk. Now there's a cow, that requires a lot of work to deal with. So then he said, okay, I need a wife to help me do this. And then, then he gets married. So he had one little problem of a mouse, and because he was trying to solve it, next thing you know, he's like entangled in more and more and more situations. So similarly, if we try to fix every little thing in our life, materially speaking, it will take away from this time that we can just fully use for Krishna's service. And this is the purpose of Brahmacharya ashram, especially sannyas ashram, so that minimize worldly duties and maximize time to be used in Krishna's service. And when one is able to do that, life is very sublime, very nice. But the more we meditate on these material aspects, it just breeds more anxiety, more worry, more doubt, and ultimately more material desires. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he took this vow to chant 1 billion names, and I had, when I was reading recently, I didn't read the details of this, but I will speak on what I faintly remember, that after he finished this vow, the Lord appeared to him in some way, and basically he was instructed from that point to go out and preach. So it's like, Srila Prabhupada, in the Lila Rita, there's, I guess the whole book is called Lifetime in Preparation, or the beginning chapters, the beginning part. Anyway, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took this heavy vow of nirjan bhajan, just, not engage with the world, just preaching. And then afterwards he was instructed, he received this realization to go preach, and then from that point on he preached vehemently. He traveled all over India, he opened 64 temples all over India. He fought, with vigor, destroying any kind of opposition that opposed him with, not slander and, degraded way of fighting, just tattva philosophy. He was so sharp, nobody could beat his conclusion of understanding the scriptures. I mean, there's so many stories where basically, like, wherever he was at, he'd be in some library or in some king's, special library. He would read every book on philosophy that he could. He was really interested in philosophy and he loved reading, but for the majority, he's reading all the Vaishnava literature, and if one reads all the literature of the Vaishnavas, which, fortunate for us, if we just read Srila Prabhupada's books, which may be hard enough for most of us, that has all of this philosophy that's presented from the six Goswamis and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, all in a presentable way, easy for us to understand. But if one's a big scholar and wants to go deeper, there's so much philosophy there. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would read it all, he'd consume it all. I was going to say one other thing about this. When he completed this vow, actually, it's very interesting. If I had my phone, I would pull it up, but he wrote this bhajan. It's, maybe you can pull up, it's, we could read the translation at least. It's, he didn't write so many bhajans, he pulled it up. It's like Dushtamane, it's him instructing his mind. And basically, it's him smashing the idea that we may have that, I just want to renounce the world and just go become a Babaji and just chant the holy names and just do that. So here's somebody who took a vow to chant 1 billion names and for 9 years did nothing but chant. He would just eat very simply. And then afterwards, he was writing this.
You ready?
Okay, somebody have a microphone? Let's read this. Keep in mind, this was after he chanted 1 billion names for 9 years. Nothing else but chanting. So.
O wicked mind, what kind of Vaishnava do you think you are? Your pretentious show of chanting Lord Hari's holy name in solitary places only for the sake of attaining a false prestige, O worldly reputation. It is nothing but pure hypocrisy.
Such materialistic prestige is as disgusting as the stool of a hog. Do you not know that it is only a mere illusion cast by the potency of Maya? What is the value of contemplating day and night your plans for enjoying wealth and woman? All these things are only temporary.
When you claim wealth as your own, it creates in you ever-increasing desire for material enjoyment. Your riches should be used for serving Madhava, the Lord of all wealth. Neither is it your proper place to indulge in lust for women, whose only true proprietor is Lord Yadava.
The demon Ravana, lust incarnate, fought with Lord Ramachandra, love incarnate, in order to gain the tree of worldly reputation. But that oasis turned out to be but a mirage cast in the desert wasteland of the Lord's illusory material potency. Please cultivate fixed determination to obtain only the steady and solid platform whereupon the Vaishnava ever stands. If you neglect worshipping the Lord from this position, then you will ultimately attain to hellish existence.
Why do you needlessly suffer the torment of blaspheming the devotees of Lord Hari, attempting to achieve their eminence, thereby only proving your own fruitless foolishness? The desire for spiritual eminence is easily fulfilled when one becomes a devotee of the Lord, for eternal fame automatically follows the heels of the Vaishnava, and that fame is never to be considered a temporary worldly opulence.
The relationship between a devotee and Lord Hari is devoid of even a trace of worldly illusion. It has nothing to do with the materialistic cheating propensity. The prestige of so-called popularity in the material realm is compared to a treacherous dog-eating witch, and the attempt to live in solitude to supposedly engage in unalloyed bhajan is compared to an entangling network of distraction. Please know that anyone striving in either of these ways verily lives in the hell of Maya's illusion.
I shall give up chanting the Lord's name publicly in Kirtan and retire to solitude, thus smearing myself with worldly honor. Dear mind, what is the good of seeking such so-called glory? I always remind you that the great soul Madhavendra Puri never deceived himself in that regard by committing theft in his own storehouse of perception the way you do.
Truly, O wicked mind, the glories of so-called solitary worship are propagated only by false yogis using unscrupulous means to deceive others. To save yourself from these pitfalls, please contemplate. Your cheap reputation is equal to the stool of a hog. An ordinary, ambitious man like you can never be equated with a devotee of Madhavendra Puri's eminence. Under the sway of envy, you have drowned yourself in the filthy waters of material enjoyment after having abandoned the excellent perfection of congregational kirtan.
Truly, O wicked mind, the glories of so-called solitary worship are propagated only by false yogis using unscrupulous means to deceive others. To save yourself from these pitfalls, please contemplate the instruction that the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kindly gave us while addressing Srila Sanatana Goswami with the utmost care.
Do not forget for a moment the two most valuable concepts that he taught. One, the principle of dry apparent renunciation as opposed to real, appropriate renunciation. And two, the principle of a soul being trapped in the bondage of matter as opposed to a soul who is liberated. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking that these conflicting concepts are on the same level. Please remember this while engaging yourself in chanting the Lord's holy names as loudly as you possibly can.
One is truly a Vaishnava who has given up the habit of falling victim to the ferocious tigress of wealth, beauty, and fame. Such a soul is factually detached from material life and is known as a pure devotee. Someone with this consciousness of detachment has thereby become victorious over the mundane world of birth and death.
One is indeed detached, who moderately partakes of worldly things that are deemed necessary for living in devotional service. A devotee acting in this manner does not fall prey to the disease of material infatuation. Thus, devoid of selfish attachment and endowed with the ability to see things in relation to the Lord, all sense objects are then directly perceived as being Lord Madhava himself.
This is the standard of befitting renunciation, and one who realizes this is most fortunate indeed. Everything involved in such a devotee's life represents Lord Hari's personal spiritual opulence as manifest in the world of matter. On the other hand, one who engages in chanting the Lord's name with hopes of enhancing his own material reputation finds that all his activities and paraphernalia represent only the riches of hypocrisy.
O mind, please reject the company of two types of persons, those desiring personal liberation from the material world, and those who desire to enjoy the pleasure of material sense objects. Both of these are equally non-devotees. The things that are used in relation to Lord Krishna are objects belonging directly to the transcendental realm, and thus having nothing to do with matter, they cannot either be owned or forsaken by persons interested in mundane enjoyment or renunciation.
Any impersonal philosopher is opposed to thinking of Krishna as an object of a devotion, and thus, being puffed up with the false pride of imaginary liberation, he dares to criticize the true devotees of the Lord. O mind, you are the servant of the Vaishnavas, and you should always hope of attaining devotion. Why then do you make such a loud commotion by calling to me and trying to prove the supposed supremacy of your practice of solitary worship?
One who falsely gives up things that could actually be used in the Lord's service proudly calls himself a renunciate, but unfortunately he can never become a Vaishnava by such an attitude. Abandoning his servitorship to the lotus feet of Lord Hari and resigning himself to his solitary home, whatever is gained by that exercise can only be the worthless treasure of deception.
Most valuable treasures amongst the Lord's. Ever engage yourself in the service of Sri Radha and keep aloof from the vicious snake of materialistic sense gratification. The glory of participating in the Lord's kirtan is not meant to bolster anyone's ambitions for personal recognition. O mind, why then have you abandoned the identity of being Radha's eternal servant in favor of retiring to a solitary place to practice the cheating process of so-called bhajan?
The most valuable treasures amongst the Lord's preachers are the eternal personalities residing in Vrajadham. They never occupy themselves with begging for worthless material reputation, which is cherished only by the living dead. The Vrajavasis are truly infused with life, and therefore they preach in order to give life to the walking corpses of the mundane world. All the songs that the Vrajavasis sing about the glories of Lord Krishna are devoid of any tinge of desire for fame.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, servant of Radha and her beloved Krishna, always hopes for kirtan, and he begs all to loudly sing the names of Lord Hari. The transcendental power of congregational chanting automatically awakens remembrance of the Lord and his divine pastimes in relation to one's own eternal spiritual form. Only at that time does it become possible to go off to a solitary place and engage in confidential worship of their worships. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Ki.
So we can see he spent 9 years chanting a million names, and what's he talking about? We should just do the things that we're doing here, but do them proper, do in the proper spirit, congregational chanting, be together with the devotees, take everything and use it in Krishna's service. So this is what Srila Prabhupada has given us. following the spirit of his Guru Maharaj, taking everything and using it to serve Krishna. And we're fortunate because we have that opportunity, and it seems to me the biggest obstacle, I mean, there's many obstacles, but one of the biggest obstacles is just cooperating with one another. But if we truly put Krishna in the center, like he's saying about this kirtan, that's it's not meant for anybody to be. It's meant for the Lord's glorification and not for our own honor, not for our prestige, nothing of the sort. One other thing, little tidbit I heard today, which I thought was nice, was that one time two gentlemen came and saw Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and they said, I've been chanting Hare Krishna for a long time and I have no taste. How long does it take? What do we have to do? And then Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, he asked them, how long have you been chanting? They said, I've been chanting for 40 years. And he was like, oh, yeah, like what a relief. I thought you were chanting for a long time. So the point is, we've been chanting for like 2 months, 6 months, a year. We're, I have no taste, Prabhu, I have no taste. Yeah.
Just chant.
Yes, just chant, just keep chanting. Chanting leads to more chanting, chanting leads to more chanting, and that chanting and chanting and chanting will lead to taste, but it can happen slowly. So we need to have faith, and this is why we need to hear. We need to hear the tattva, the philosophy coming from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and we need to hear about the Vaishnava Acharyas, because they are living proof of that tattva. So, Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Gauranga Ki Jai, Vachakam Turu Yaschakapas Nivycha, Namo Bhavani Vaishnavi Namo